So we got us looks like about a 2006 Ford. Let me take a look at the build plate. 2007 Ford. We got to get the instrument cluster out of this bad boy. All right. First things first, make that thing stop. All right. I'm gonna try to do this. This is two tools you need to get this instrument cluster out. That's it. 7mm on the end of a wobble shaft, and that wobble shaft, that's one hell of a wobble shaft. Reach out and touch somebody with that. All right. You're gonna want to get your pry tool in here, and well, let's just see if we can't get y'all sat down to where I can actually work. Hang on. Alright, hopefully you can halfway see what I'm doing here. We'll get rid of this dude. Get him out of the way. Kind of ironic. Iron Man's made out of plastic. Alright, got a couple of clips in there, and when you get this thing down, you'll have two 7mm up in here, and on each side. Take those two 7mm out. Toss those in the floorboard so you don't lose them. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of grab, let's see if I can get it in there, kind of grab it along here on both sides. I'm going to sit y'all down for this because you got to kind of pull it towards you. Hopefully you can get this on camera. I think I got it on frame. You want to pull straight back on it. Well, it helps to drop your steering column. I should say it would help to drop your steering column if the lever wasn't missing. So that's going to make this one a little bit extra difficult. There it goes. And this comes up and out of your way. Be careful with it. These Fords are fragile. Next up, you got 7mm in the corners. Should be 4 of them. This one has 3 for some reason, so that tells me somebody's been in here, and this is not this truck's first rodeo. Alright, toss your 3 or 4 bolts in the floorboard so you don't lose them. Your cluster is now loose. There's 2 little tabs on the top of these connectors that you have to push down and rotate these out of the way. And then there's 2 little tabs underneath the prindle. Hope I'm not in y'all's way. 2 little tabs under there. You're going to grab a hold of those with your fingers and squeeze them and pull down, straight down. That's how you get your cluster out of the vehicle. And also, I guess I should show y'all, plug it back in for a second, show you what this one's doing wrong. I'm gonna have to listen to the dinger again. So this when I brought it in, the speedometer was stuck at about 80 miles an hour while we were parked. Everything else looked like it was working, but we have absolutely no light for the odometer and no display for the odometer. So let's go inside and get that fixed. Okay, we are inside with the 07 F150, and let me get my camera set up here so you can see what's what. There's your 07 F150 cluster without the glare right there. Alright, so getting this thing apart. Let's see what we can do here. Got 15 T15 screws on the back here. Should be 7 screws. Alright, 7 screws out. You can remove the plastic piece here and flip it over, and we need a little flat blade screwdriver. I'll go ahead and pop these clips loose. Oh. And we got 2 on the top, 4 on the bottom. Set that aside. Yeah, and I can see why this needle's getting stuck. There is absolutely no gap between the faceplate and this, so this is probably a working stepper motor. I don't feel any ratcheting in there, and surprised this tack's even tighter than the speedometer. Surprised it was working. So that comes from somebody taking the needles off, and then when they put them back on, they just like push it all the way down. Now it's like hanging up on the faceplate. It needs to be up and have a little gap, about like that. If you can see right in there, that's that little gap. That's about right. All right. I don't have any confidence in where they have these set, since they didn't obviously know what they were doing. So we'll just take them off. That one's already half disintegrated. We'll show you how to fix that. We're just rotating these against the stops. Alright, once you have that done, this display here is kind of, it's in a header on the board. Best way to do that is just to pry up on that board right there, and that should release it. Set this aside, you know, that's not part of the equation. Alright, let me go grab the proper power cord for this. Alright, I got it. And we're going to hook this up on the bench here. I'm going to go ahead and remove this out of its little housing. These are the pins. These pins go in these holes, and it's a little challenging getting it back together when you're trying to fit everything right. Turns out it works. Must not have been plugged in correctly. Alright. We're gonna, I'm assuming they had this out for a reason and they've done some level of work on it. We'll check that out over on the other bench in a second here. Just set this aside someplace where it won't get damaged. And I did not see any light. Now, I don't have this light or these other lights hooked up on my bench power supply, so the way we check those is unplug it so you're not backfeeding any circuits. And I have it unplugged right here. The connectors are still connected, but it's unplugged. Still got power here, so we're checking the lights one at a time. That one is dead, which is what we suspected. This one's good. That's the overall circuit. And that one's good. So the only one we have out is the odometer light here. This is super easy. When you got it apart at this point, you can just pull up on that bulb. It'll come straight out. You get yourself a Ford bulb. I can't remember what size these are. There's a Ford bulb. T5s. T5 Ford bulbs. Get you a new one. Press it back into its little socket. And we can retest, make sure we got a good bulb in there. And we do. Alright. Oh, knocking the camera around. It's not going to be a problem. Come Monday, I'm getting a new camera. Alright, so what we see problems with on these. Up in this section, doesn't look like anybody's messed with this. You want to resolder everything up in here, including this one. You want to get this resistor, and a bunch of stuff on the back. We'll show you over on the other bench. Let's get moved over. Camera 3. Oh, camera 3's all jacked up. My hand's not supposed to be at the top of the screen, it's supposed to be at the bottom of the screen. Let's see if we can change that on the fly here. We'll go to camera 3. Swap the horizontal. Yeah, now we're right. Okay. Let's get going here. I want to look in the microscope for a couple of things before we get started. Switch all over to that. Alright, and focus. We want to look at these header pins. Make sure there's no cracking. And right away, this isn't really terrible, but it's not really great either. If you can see, there is some cracking around this one, looks like, and maybe around this one. Anytime you see these little halos around the pins in the microscope, those aren't really bad. I've seen them where the pins are just wobbling around in the holes. But if you're starting to see the cracks, you need to go over those. Now you're seeing a little crack on this one here. Man, my pick needs a little work. That looks bad. See if I can straighten that up a little bit. Either straighten it up or get out there with the grinder. A little better. Anyway. Alright, so look at all of these. Nothing really stands out there. Alright, so along the top of the board here, there's some other extra little, anything where there's a pin coming through the board like this here, you're going to want to just touch that with solder as well. Go ahead and look at the connections to the stepper motors. Sometimes we'll see some cracking around those. Pretty rare, but occasionally. Again, that's a pin that's sticking through the board, so that counts. We'd go ahead and do that. There's more down here. There are pins on this bottom, okay, where the I'll have to swap back and forth between the microscope and the overhead camera to really explain this to you. These pins belong to the connector to the display. Not really seeing anything bad there, but that's a big suspect area on these. And I want to look back on the other side of the board and see if I can see anything with these resistors, just by chance. Usually we don't see anything with these resistors. It's nothing visual that you can lean on. We got a couple down by the stepper motor here. Let's see if I get to these, if I can find them in the microscope. Got some up from that. Now these don't, they're going to look like this, all right? It's almost guaranteed that they're trying to turn loose to some degree. I mean, every single board I get in here is, to some degree, is a little jacked up. Oh, wrong camera, dummy. There we go. I would never take one of these apart and not do this area. It's just, this area is notorious. So we're going to get after it. We've got the bulb replaced already, so that's fixed already. I'm going to start soldering. Let's see if I can get you in a little tighter. Oh, that's the wrong direction. My connector on my camera. Don't go anywhere. I know the screen's black. There it goes. The connector on my camera is a little pissy. It don't like me all day today. I ordered another connector, so we're good. It'll be happy tomorrow. Okay. So what we're looking at, this is the other side of the board where this display presses in, and these need to be reflowed. I don't know what they had it apart for, because I couldn't see any previous solder work. You do want to be careful not to create a bridge between these pins. There's a very small gap in between the pins. And you're adding a little bit of solder, so it's real easy to create a bridge between them. And that is not something you want. Ask me how I know. Okay, so those are good. We're going to start on these. Well, now that I got all zoomed in, I can't even find where I'm at in the camera. Okay, there. So we can get this rotated and in a position where I can get in a position of comfort with this thing. One of the biggest keys to soldering, get yourself in a position of comfort. I got to turn the camera a little bit. I'm having to work way over on the edge of my bench here. Alright, so get a position of comfort. I rest my hands on the desk, both of them, and get in a position where I can get to these nice and easily. You'll want to see your solder flow on there. Same as with those header pins down below, you do not want to bridge these. All the powers and grounds are here, as well as your signals coming in from your sensors. And it's not good to short things out. Alright. Now I am not in a position of comfort of doing it like this. Just doing it so I don't have to move the board, doing it for y'all's sake. So, we got to be careful about bridging anything. I got my iron turned the wrong way. Alright, that gets that one. Can visually see between all the pins, so we don't have a bridge there. Now, up next is this bad boy here. This is the larger header. This side is easier because I'm right-handed. To get to the other side, we'll have to flip the iron over again, or I can turn the board around. Just feeding very little solder in there, additional solder. to the factory solder. Don't get carried away. You probably don't even have to use solder. Probably can just touch your iron to it. That solder will become molten again and you'll be good to go. Alright, coming back down the other side. This is what I say about flipping it around. If I was teaching you to do it at home, which I kind of am, I would say flip your board around to where it's nice and easy to get to. I like this little curved tip I'm using. Kind of helps you to hook around things. And it's got all of those. Now I want to get along the top edge of the board here. We got these. These are through holes. We got a bunch of through holes over here. Let's go ahead and do some stepper motors. I'm off camera here. Stepper motor pins. This is really not necessary on 99% of them, but I'm just going to show you how to go ahead and reflow these. My big head's not in the way. Can zoom out a little bit, but you guys won't get as good a view. Alright, we've got some more big pins coming through. We'll hit those, a little touch. Your problem's usually not on this side of the board, it's on the other side of the board. But as these things get older, you never know. There's a couple more down here. Which glasses do I have on? That's the problem. I've got the big magnifiers on. I need the little magnifiers on. They're on my head. It's the worst place for them. Never find them there. I can't even remember if I got these or not, but now that I can see, go ahead and hit these real quick. These big magnifiers, I've got to really lean in because I got to get close, but alright. Probably got some more up top here. Alright, I guess I ought to go in there and turn off my TV so I don't get some copyright strikes. Hang on just a second. Joining me now, Juan Williams, Fox News contributor, senior political analyst, and Bruce LeBel. Hopefully my audio wasn't that good. Alright, and now we get started on this side. All of these resistors right there. I gotta move the camera. It's just too much of an angle for me. I know it's black. I want black. We'll get it fixed here in a sec. Now we're all zoomed out. Alright, there you go. Should be able to see what I'm doing there. Alright, we're just going to start and kind of flow across. So we'll start with these little ones over here on the side of the stepper motor. Hope y'all can see that. Not so much. I got a glare on my TV, so I bet you can see it. It's just I can't see that you see it. These two little bitty bad boys right here. You're just going to a little carefully touch those up with the solder points. This one, time you get on these diodes, this one is kind of notorious for turning loose, and it holds heat for a long time. So ooh, yeah, it does hold heat. Just told you all about that, and you let me burn myself. Alright. How am I going to get that in the middle? Okay, there we go. These little bitty ones are delicate. But believe it or not, they don't turn loose as fast as that one does. Okay. Come on. Alright, that's pretty much got it. We're going to do a couple different sections here. Just because there are these big fat resistors, and these big fat resistors are prone to trying to come off. See if I keep burning myself there. Worked out just right. Had just enough solder. I got a whole roll of it, but I always celebrate whenever I rolled off the exact amount I needed. That should be good. Occasionally, about 10-15% of these will need a processor reflow. but generally those are dead when the processor is needing to be reflowed. So this one, that wasn't the case, and I don't believe it's going to need to be reflowed. All right. So we can come back over here, kind of check some work. Get it plugged back in. See what we got. Like I said, these lights here don't come on with my setup, so not worried about those. We already checked them, and looks pretty good. And since we have this out, we can check and verify this is still working, and it is. Okay, so if you remove that LCD screen, be very careful with it, and it's actually easier to put back in. If it's already out, it's easier to put back in after we get the board in. Get your board seated back in there. You want to go ahead and secure this on the back. That way you have a stable platform to set your needles. Alright, setting the needles. Bad bulb. Put the bulbs up before I knock them down and have to chase them all over the floor. That's happened before. Oh yeah, I promised you we were going to show you how to fix these needles if they come apart on you. Where is the other half of that one? Where the hell did it go? Oh, it's right there. It's just upside down. So these needles, they've got a little tab at the top. Where are you? Tab at the top there. And that corresponds with the needle section. Alright, sometimes you can get them just snap back together. It's from the factory, they're just kind of pressed in there. But there is indeed a method for, and that one snapped back in, so I'm not going to do it on that one. But you would take your soldering iron, pretend this is a soldering iron, and you would just lightly melt along that seam there, just melt it back together. That is the most secure way I've found of putting these needles back together. Again, when you put these needles on, you're going to put them on a little above their position where you want them, and then rotate them against the stop. Once you get it where you want it, then check and make sure that your stop is where you want it. If you don't know where these go, I'm showing you. It's about right there. This one goes about right there. Let me power this off and power this on. Yeah. That one with it powered on, it's going to rest about there, and I am a little low on these two, so we're going to adjust accordingly. And power it back on. You can do this without a bench power supply also. You can just go out to the vehicle and put it back in with the power on. That should be on 0. This one's a little different. It goes about right there, and it is so not scientific about where it is. It's just a judgment call because, you know, the first mark is 10 miles an hour. So you can always go drive your car, see that, get a GPS going and go about 10 miles an hour and see how far it is off from that, and then come back in and make an adjustment. Alright, this, I hope we can get this on film. That header pin is right down in there, and these pins from this need to line up exactly. And be real careful with it. You don't want to manhandle this piece. Did you see? Did you see? Probably not. Alright, once you got that in there, if you pull down on it just a little bit, you can get it seated flat. And there are a couple of little pins that hold this in place. They have been pried well out of the way, and they're pretty ineffective at this point. So we're just going to go with, I can get it as straight in there as I can. There we go. That's that. Almost done. Oh, good Lord. Where did our plunger go? Boom. So when you're smart like I am, you get to do things all over again. Including put this back together. So we're going to go ahead and solder this, because it just keeps coming apart. It snaps together nice and solid. I guess as long as you're not pulling on it, it's going to be okay. In order to put that plunger back on, if you forget it, the whole damn thing's got to come back apart. So let's see how fast I can do this, since you've already seen it go apart and back together one time. Alright, and now we're going to have to line our display up again. That plunger goes right there, like so. I'm going to hang it off the edge of the bench so I can seat it without having a problem. Without breaking that stem. I'm going to get some screws in it here. Usually what happens with that display, when you put it in, those pins are on one side of the header or the other, and then you just have to go back in and do what we did a minute ago. Line them back up. Chase a screw or two around on the floor. Oh, let's see where that one went. Yeah, got it. Alright. Let's just power it on. Go ahead and get this back up where it goes again. That's not it. It's really not a hard process if you've done a couple hundred of them already. It's a little crooked. There it goes. Okay. Now let's go back. This one. Oh, I just knocked the hell out of y'all. Oh, this one goes right there. Don't forget. We're running 13.5 volts, so that looks pretty good. So it goes on 0. Again, we're not going to bury the needles like we found them. Oh, we kind of did. Okay, that's got a nice gap now. Now we have our stem in place. Everything's working. Can't remember if this is one of the Fords you can hold the stem down while you crank it up, and then it should sweep the needles. Yeah, as soon as it says test, it'll go through it, so it'll sweep. And we're good there. I'll go put it back in the vehicle. Okay, I'm not going to make you guys watch me put it back in. You already watched me take it out. So I have faith in you that you can reverse that whole process. Anyhow, I'm here if you guys need me for anything. If I helped you out today, give me a little like and subscribe, and that's all it takes to pay me for what I do. Just appreciation, that's it, that's all. And it's free. So get down there and hit them buttons. I'll keep doing my thing. You guys keep doing yours. I was trying to catch y'all a beautiful Texas sunset, but as it sets on the strip club across from our shop. Anyhow, whoops, that went way out there. It was pretty there for a minute, but I was a little slow getting the camera back out.